Welcome to this Nexa video, where we will show you how to use the Nexa Roles. This video is mainly aimed at users with administrator privileges who define the workflows for your company. Why do we need roles? When building a workflow, one usually assigns an activity to a user, a group of users, or a combination of them. These assignments are fixed for all the instances of the process. It might be important instead to decide the assignees of the next activity based on the development of the present activity. This can be done with the help of Nexa Roles. In this tutorial, we will show you how to build custom roles and how to use them. There are three kinds of roles that can be decided at runtime. You can give the possibility to select the assignee from all the possible users of the company. You can give the possibility to pick a user from a group, like the designers or the engineers of your company. Alternatively, rather than selecting a user, you can grant the possibility to select one of the groups of the company. Later, the members of the group will have the option to claim the activity. Please notice that Nexa comes with two pre-made roles, the preparer and the last user. In this tutorial instead we refer to the custom roles that one can build according to specific needs. At the beginning of this tutorial, we will give you a schematic idea regarding the roles. Later, we will show you in detail all the passages in Nexa. Using the roles involves three main steps. The first step is the creation of custom roles by an administrator. The second step requires the administrator to assign the roles to specific activities. The last step takes place during the execution of an instance of the workflow, where the end user has the possibility to utilize the roles to select on the fly the assignees of the next activity. Let's see the first step, building the roles. At first, you will have to create a master form. It is suggested to not include the common attributes since you are going to use this form only for the roles. At the beginning, the master form is empty and you can add any property. Among them, there are the group roles and the user roles. You should drag and drop them in the master form and customize their behavior, like the name, the prompt, etc. Please notice that the roles are just normal properties and they are going to be recorded in the SQL database. For this reason, their names should follow the restrictions proper of the SQL language. For example, spaces and special characters are not allowed. There are three main kinds of roles, two related to the user role and one to the group role. The simplest case is that of a user that gives you access to all the employees in Nexa. The second case of user role happens when you pick one of the groups under the choice list field. By doing so, you are going to limit the users to those belonging to the specific group that you selected. The last possibility is to pick one of the groups present in the database. In this case, you do not choose a specific user. It is going to be up to its members to claim the activity. Notice that the group roles and user roles are properties that are visually identical to choice lists. For example, they are displayed as drop-down menus. However, they are different objects and they do not appear in the choice list menu of the administration tab. Once the master form has been built and saved, we just need to build a derived form out of it. This is because the master form is just a blueprint, while the derived form is the actual object that is going to be used with other Nexa objects. After saving the derived form, all the roles therein contained are going to be available at the time of a workflow creation. The administrator can now assign the roles to an activity of a workflow. It is as easy as editing the activity and selecting the Assignments tab. Here we can see four possibilities: user roles, users, group roles, and groups. All the roles properties of the derived form are going to be displayed here, either among the user roles or the group roles. We have to select them and press the right arrow to assign them to the activity. After the administrator has finished building the workflow process and one of its instances has been issued, the users are going to interact with the activities. Let's now consider the case of a workflow with two activities, where the second one is assigned to custom roles. When the last user of the first activity presses the Send Forward button, a drop-down menu corresponding to the roles built in the forms is going to appear. For example, one might have to decide who is going to be the assignee within the MCAT group. As you see, with the roles it becomes possible to decide on the fly the assignees of the next activity, rendering the process even more dynamic and customizable. We have seen an overview of the roles. It is time to see them in action in Nexa. We log in as an administrator and select Forms. Then we click on the Add button. We want to build a new master form. Since we do not need the common attributes, we uncheck them. We fill the form name, read by the users, and the name of its SQL database table. Once we are done, we click on Continue. This creates a white canvas in the right-hand pane, where we can insert all the needed properties. We click on the icon with a triangle, a square and a circle, and this opens a small dialog. We click again to expand it, and we see all the possible kinds of properties that we can add to the master form. We just have to drag and drop them in the canvas. At the beginning, we drag and drop the group role. This opens a new window where we have to customize the fields of this property. Nexa offers default values for the required properties name and prompt. Please remember that the name is associated to a SQL table and it is not going to be possible to change it later. The users instead interact with the prompt that does not have the same limitations. In this case, since this is a group role, we call it simply select a group. After clicking on OK, we see that the property is now present in the master form. Now we drag and drop the user role property in the master form and we customize it. In this case, we want to build a role that gives us the possibility to pick one of the users belonging to the MCAD group that has been previously built for our company. The prompt of this role is thus going to be select a user from MCAD. At this point, we go to the third field, Choice List, and we click on it. Nexa shows us a drop-down menu containing all the available groups. We select MCAD and then OK. If you're interested in a tutorial explaining how to further customize a property, please refer to the video on the forms that we released previously. Now we want to add another user role. In this case, it is going to give the possibility to pick a user among all the users of the company. We drag and drop the user role and we customize its name and prompt. The prompt is going to be simply select a user, since we are not imposing any restriction regarding groups. After clicking on OK, we can see the 3 brand new roles in the master form. These new properties have not yet been saved. For this reason, we go to the top bar and we click on Save. A green label at the bottom right signals that everything has been done correctly, and the master form is in the database. It is now time to create a derived form that is going to make the new roles available for the future workflows. We click on Add. Nexa suggests to build a derived form out of the master form that we just created. We enter a form name and we click on Save. Perfect! The roles are now ready to be used. On the left-hand side, we click on Workflows and then on Add. At first, we added a start activity that determines the name of the workflow process and its permissions. This is going to be a workflow to test the roles, so we call it Roles Selection, and we allow any user in the company to access to its instances by pressing on Global in the Permissions tab. Please remember that the roles give the possibility to select the assignee of the next activity to the user of the present activity. For this reason, we build the second activity and we connect it to the first one. At this point, we right-click on the first activity and select Edit. This activity is going to be very simple. The assignee will have to send it forward and use the roles to pick the users of the following activity. So we call it Select the assignees of the next activity. Then we press on the Assignee tab and we select a user, Paul Mole. This means that in all the instances of this workflow process, the first activity is going to be assigned to Paul Mole. Now we are going to customize the activity too. Among the user roles in the assignments, we see Select a user and Select a user from MCAD. We click on them and then we press on the right arrow. At this point, we click on Group Roles and we add Select a group to the assignees. We do not forget to select the claimable box so that the users of the group are going to be able to claim the activity. We click on OK and Save. Role selection is now present among the workflows. It is now time to build one of its instances. We go to the desktop area where we find a drawing that has been previously added to Nexa. We click on New, Workflow. This opens the window where we can decide which workflow to use. We see the role selection workflow that we just built. We click on Create. The green note in the bottom right corner tells us that the new instance has been created. Since the first activity of this workflow is always assigned to Paul Mole, we log in as this user and we go to the Work tab. We select Work List and we see the drawing that is being routed by the roles selection process. We right-click on it and we select Send Forward. At this point, Nexa shows us the Fill Open Assignments window. Here, we can see a list of assignments related to the activities that follow the present one. There are 3 columns. One indicating which following activity we are referring to. In this case, there is only activity 2. One indicating the prompt of the role. And the third one is a drop-down menu with the role value. Paul Mole clicks on the first role and the list of all the active Nexa users appears. He decides to select Alex Shepard. Then, he has to pick one of the MCAD engineers to perform the activity 2. He clicks and selects Eleanor Noether. Lastly, he has to select one of the groups. He picks the designers group. After doing the selection, he clicks on Assign. As you have seen, the assignees of activity 2 have been chosen on the fly at the end of the first activity and can be different in every instance of this workflow. Let's inspect the instance to see how Nexa records these choices. We click on Processes, we right-click on this workflow and we select View Process. The process viewer shows us that the first activity of the instance has been completed. See the green check mark, while the second one has been just assigned. Notice the hourglass icon in the left-hand side. We right-click on the second activity and we select View Assignment Status. This window shows us that the roles Select a User and Select a User from MCAD are claimed by 2 users decided by Paul Mole, while there are 3 users who can claim the Select a Group role. They are the users belonging to the Designers group, since this was a selection performed by Paul Mole. We log in as Alex Shepard. We select Work and Work List. We click on the activity and we send it forward. At this point, we click on Processes to view the process status. We right-click on the second activity and we select View Assignment Status. As expected, the assignment status for this user is now approved. We log in as the second assignee of the activity, Eleanor Noether, and also in this case we send forward the activity. When we view the process and we check the assignments, we see that also this user approved the activity. The last step to be done involves the designers group. We log in as one of them, Simon Knight, and we go to Work and Work List. In this case, there is no activity to be performed. This is in line with what we know. One of the designers needs to claim the activity. We click on Claimable Work and we see the activity. We right-click on it and select Claim. At this point, the activity is present in the work list and we send it forward. When we look at the process, we see that activity 2 is now complete as confirmed by the green tick sign and the completion activity date at the right of the icon. We right-click on the activity and we view the assignment status. We see that there are only 3 names now. When Simon Knight claimed the activity, the other members of the designers group have been removed, and now the activity has been approved by all the 3 roles. In summary, we have seen how to build roles with forms and how to set them into the activities of a workflow process. This allows us to have more flexibility, since the users of an activity do not need to be fixed anymore, but they can be decided according to the development of the process. We have also seen that there are 3 ways to build roles. 2 related to user roles, where one can choose from all the members of the company or from the members of a specific group. In the case of group roles, one can select on the fly the group to be assigned and let its members decide who is going to be in charge of the activity. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications so that you won't miss any next update. Thanks for watching.